Good morning and welcome to today's Daily Word. We gather again around Scripture and what it means for us and how we might apply it to the living of our daily lives. So thanks for joining me yet again for another day of Scripture and conversation, and I'm just exploring Scripture as it speaks to us. Today is Daily Word number 666. And so we are moving quickly through these days together. So as always, I appreciate that you carve out time to be with me, that you say good morning, that you reflect with me about what Scripture means for us. It always means a great deal to me at the end of the day when I see who has watched and who said good morning. And I appreciate once in a while, and you don't have to, of course, but once in a while I get a comment from somebody who just thanks me for the impact that our daily word has for them. And I think that's a really cool thing as we continue this journey together. So we are ready to go again for this morning on this chilly, cold, snowy winter morning. The scripture for this morning is John chapter 15 verse 5. Probably familiar words, and it's this: I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. So I got to thinking about this scripture as it applies to us and how we've been talking together in worship the last few weeks and at council last night and in other conversations about what it means to live in community together and the impact that community has on us as individuals. Because I believe that community and the gathered community is a reflection of us, and that it also then sustains us and feeds us and allows us then to bear fruit. To bear fruit in our lives, to bear fruit in our families, to bear fruit in the world. And I think one of the challenges that we have with this idea of bearing fruit is to recognize that God's the vine, we are the branches, but to abide in God, to remain close, to be a shoot, if you will, we have to have some intentional habits and rhythms in our lives that keep us close to Jesus. Because those rhythms and those habits and those things we do help us maintain a lasting sense of wholeness in our lives. Now I know that for almost 3 years, this has sustained me. You know, this daily word, it's kept me focused and kept me knowing I need to study and be creative and hear what it is that God's saying to me. There are times, though, that, like everyone, I get out of the habit. This might become perfunctory, just something that we have to do. Worship on Sunday morning, or coming to church on Wednesday night, or even just as important, our daily prayer life, our daily personal connection to God, our personal recognition of God's presence in our lives, the creation, the sunrise and the sunset, and all the things in between. Yesterday was a fairly difficult day. Had a person come see me who's just, the struggle in their life is immense, just immense. And it was a couple of 2+ hours of conversation and of real struggle and lots of tears. And when that was finally over, man, I took a big sigh of relief. And then I had to refocus myself. I have a prayer cross on my desk. Many of you have a prayer cross. If you don't have one and you want one, let me know. They're wooden prayer crosses. And the cool thing about them is they're not finished. They're from acacia wood from the Holy Land. And as you hold them in your hand, the oils and the stuff from from your hand penetrates them, and you can see the wear on them. And so I picked up my prayer cross. I didn't have the right words to say, but I just knew that somehow in that I needed God to reconnect me to God the vine. Because apart from that, I could really do nothing. And I think that's such an important thing for us, as we live our lives and as we go through the difficult days that we all have in our lives, that we find a way to stay connected. We have to practice grace in our lives. We have to put ourselves in the flow of God's grace. We have to pray. We have to be quiet. We have to confess. We have to, just be with other people and be in conversation with each other, because it's in that way that we create habits and rhythms that keep us connected to God. And when we're connected to God in that way, it's then that we find lasting wholeness. Jesus says, I'm the vine, you're the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me, you can do nothing. There is something to be said about abiding, being in the moment, being where God needs us to be. Maybe that's personal, maybe it's private, maybe it's in our own prayer, like mine at my desk yesterday. Maybe it's in a large crowd of people that we abide in God's presence and that God moves through us. But when we abide, when we hear this, when we create those rhythms, it's then that we find that wholeness. And then I believe that because we abide, because we're connected, then when we live our lives, when we encounter difficulties, when we encounter difficult people, difficult situations, when things don't turn out as we hoped, because we're connected, we always fall back on that. And we're touched and we're moved and we're shaped because of that. And I think that that's good news for us. And God gives us new beginnings and helps us to reset and reorder our lives around God's love and grace and goodness and forgiveness. And that's the good news. And that's the word that I want to share with you today. So I hope that's a good word. So I hope you know of God's love that surrounds you and will abide with you this day. Abide in the vine in all of your lives. And know of my love for you, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.